muscle bone killer when me bust into flame. Watch out, some might sting ya. So turn it, I am make the bad boy bigger. When they come around, we all go on them. Listen to the word and the fire you caught in the middle. When the flames get higher, put up your gun fingers. Return all of the fire, it's a bad man signal, give a sign. Pull your gun finger trigger. Return all of the fire, it's a bad man signal, give a sign. Pull your gun finger trigger. Pull your gun finger trigger. Pull your gun finger trigger. It's a bad man signal, give a sign. Pull your gun finger trigger. Pull your gun finger trigger. It's a bad man signal, give a sign. Pull your gun finger trigger.
Look left, look right, and I come with a hook right. Hook right, hook right. This what the angles look like. Way up, stood high, taking the view when it look right. And oh, it's the good life, whipping the sauce when I cook like. Look left, look right, yeah, yeah. Come with a hook right. Hook right, hook right, hook right. Make all the man them look twice. I'm way up, stood high, but I've been in the field like Suge Knight. And they know this took time. This what a legacy look like.
This what a come with a
Look left, look right, and I come with a hook right. Hook right, hook right. This what the angles look like. Way up, stood high, taking the view when it look right. And oh, it's the good life, whipping the sauce when I cook like. Look left, look right, yeah, yeah. Come with a hook right.
Welcome back, everybody. We're back. It's
back.
a new season.
We're back.
Of course, it's Kellen, it's Will, and welcome to the first episode of On the Country Roads. This is going to be a really, really fun segment that we're going to do every week. It's going to be probably one of our longest pieces of content per week, and I'm so excited about it. For those of you who remember Lunch Break, this is the refined and better version. We're going to be focusing on all things esports with a little bit of fun in there. So why don't we just introduce the show a little bit? Of course, it's called On the Country Roads. I could not think of a better representation of the Mountaineers. And there's going to be a couple of segments here ranging from interviews to clips and things of that nature. But the first segment that we're going to get into a little bit later after this introduction is called the League Ladder. It is a in-depth description of what's going on around the leagues for our Mountaineers and their teams and how other teams are doing. So the League Ladder section is really just focusing on everything in terms of collegiate esports and where the Mountaineers kind of fit in that nature.
This whole next 90 minutes is just going to be everything that you need to know about the collegiate esports world, especially pertaining to, our Mountaineers is going to be in this. every Friday, 4:30,
Yeah.
live on Twitch, live on YouTube.
Mhm.
Will be uploaded to YouTube later in case you missed it.
Yeah.
You know, we have guests, we have recaps, we have standings, we have predictions, we have everything that you might need to, kind of, really interest yourself in this world that we have, dedicated so much time to.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, and this episode specifically is really exciting because it's really a lot of that preseason hype
Mm-hmm.
that I'm sure everyone is so eagerly waiting for. But the next section after that is going to be expert opinion, where we bring on our first guest. I'm going to keep the first guest a surprise, because I think it is a pretty great first guest. But we're going to bring someone on, whether that be one of our own players or someone from the outside of the Mountaineer realm. And they're just going to talk. We're going to have a conversation about esports, about their lives and interests, and what they think about what's going on. And the next segment, one of my personal favorite, Clip Farmer. That's where we're going to bring up some of the hottest clips from the Mountaineers in the past week. We're going to analyze them. We're going to look at them with our guest, and they're really going to break it down. And for the ones that they might not know, that's where we're going to come in, your handy dandy casters. And then after that, it's going to be hot seat. This is going to be one of those fun ones. I'm really excited for this. Production is going to give us a question, and we're going to have a few minutes to debate about it. This question could be esports.
We have no
could
idea.
not. We still
We
don't
have no
know.
idea.
So you'll find out with us. And then last but not least is going to be Crystal Ball, where we make our predictions for the Mountaineers in the week to follow that. So from that Friday on to the next Friday, we will make our predictions. We'll keep a tally, and by the end of the season, we'll see who has the best score predictions. And maybe today we should make a prediction on who's best at predicting. Yeah.
Me. I was actually awful last semester. So
Yeah, you really were. I
really
don't.
rough.
I don't know.
I just kept picking us, and we just kept losing. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I think it got to a point where you just started
I
purposefully.
started picking the other team, so
Yeah.
we would hopefully win.
and
it worked.
It did start
It
working.
worked.
It did start working for a little bit, so you really can't complain there.
Mhm.
But that is the total sum of On the Country Roads. There's going to be changes here and there, of course. But this is a really, really exciting opportunity, and we are so happy to be offering it to you. And perhaps a little bit of a background on why is that these teams are not going to have as intense of a schedule this semester. They're not participating in nearly as many leagues, so there's not as many competitive matches for us to focus on. So you guys get some of this non-competitive content that we know you love. We know you love it.
Well, I think no play-fi
Yep.
this semester for a lot of these rosters. It's more just about, focusing all of their attention onto one singular goal instead of, spreading them out so thin with, sometimes like 4 matches a week
Oh, yeah.
for all these different leagues, very draining and, not really the best kind of approach if you really want to win, a NACE Super Conference Championship, which is, the main goal for a lot of these rosters. So, it's something that, we're not going to have as many matches to cast, but now it's going to give us this opportunity to kind of bring these more fun shows for you guys and, kind of keep you guys more in the loop of, what's happening in this world, which, it's our first week. I'm very excited. And, our season starts soon too. So,
Yeah.
it's only going to start ramping up from here.
And I'll tell you what, the season kind of already did start a little bit. Of course, we have CVAL and CRL happening. So, those kind of outside challengers leagues that these teams do compete in happening. And we got actually a bunch of our clips from Clip Farmer are from those. So very, very excited for that. But a very important thing that I want to touch on this season is that for all of you who continue to watch during the games, during this content, we are absolutely going to provide you with some exclusive content if you are a Twitch sub. So if you don't know, subscribing to us on Twitch helps us immensely. It's how we make our money. It's how we can keep providing this wonderful content to you. But it also means that when we go to ad breaks, you don't get those ads, and we are going to be running exclusive interviews, clips, funny TikTok segments, things of that nature. So To ensure that you're keeping up to date on all of your WVU media, make sure that you are subbed on Twitch. We greatly appreciate it. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you can sub for free with your Prime account. You get one per month. And if you spend it on us, we promise we will make it worth it. So, look, I think there's nothing left to do but to get into it. But to prepare for that, we're going to send it to a real quick ad break. Again, if you are a Twitch sub, you could be getting some pretty exclusive content here. So we'll be back in just about a minute and a half as we kick off on the country roads. Welcome back, everybody, into the first section, League Ladder. Now, this segment of League Ladder is going to be a little bit different than what it's going to be in the normal On the Country Roads because we have to talk about what happened last season and mainly the playoffs. All four of the main rosters did make the playoffs in some facet, some a little bit higher seeded than others. But nonetheless, they did all make it, and none of them were eliminated in the first round.
No. So we're going to start off with our Valorant roster,
Yep.
and for those of you who were not there, at the ending of last season, this was a team that was, really starting to get hot at the end, and then, kind of rode that wave a little bit into the playoffs. Knocked off Cleveland State in the first round, and then in that very next round, knocked off Blinn. Two maps to one.
That Blinn map was very important because that was really Cleveland State was one of those teams that they kind of pushed over.
You're supposed to win
a little bit, but that Blinn win was a very important stepping stone in that team's progression because throughout the season we saw them kind of grow into their own. But then that Blinn match, they just looked really, really good. And despite dropping that one map, coming out with the win there was important.
They looked very strong, and that propelled them all the way to the semifinals, where they did run into the St. Clair Saints, who was a roster that kind of, had this team's number all season, and it did not change there, falling to St. Clair 2-0, and then 4-0 overall against St. Clair during that whole season. So, But I mean, compared to the season beforehand, which was this team kind of a lot of people thought fell short of where they should have been. This was definitely more of a bounce back season, and they have a much better jumping off point, going into this next season. And I mean, they're definitely going to need to kind of ride that momentum because these first 5 weeks that they're these first 5 matchups for this Valorant team is absolutely brutal. So they start off playing against Cumberland, and then right off go into Fisher, then go into St. Clair, Maryville, and Winthrop.
Yeah.
That is brutal.
That is no small order. And a very important thing to notice there is that Fisher, now back in the Super Conference after a long hiatus. I don't think Fisher has been in the Super Conference for at least 2 semesters. So seeing Fisher back in that Super Conference is yeesh, and having all 5 of those matches in your first 5 weeks is just absolutely brutal. And the thing is, every other team in the Super Conference has an opening half of the season like that, because every single team in the Super Conference is just so good. And you look at St. Clair, you look at Maryville, those rosters are both returning.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of change there, and obviously there's no change on our side. So it's just going to be who took that off-season time to really make the changes that they need to make. And we're really going to see that in that opening match against Cumberland. I believe the opening match last season was against Cumberland, if I'm not mistaken. If we can get a double check.
Yes, it was.
So I was right, because I remember we were all excited because of Jay Chronic's role on that team that semester. And at that point, this team was still very, very shaky. It was the first match in NACE that this team had played together, and they came out with a very convincing win. If they can do that again, I would like to see the follow-up be different, because if we look at what happened after that, you're looking at 2 straight losses.
Yes.
Right? One to Maryville, which is obviously Maryville, but then one to UST, which was...
And that St. Thomas roster, and they had really been kind of back and forth that all seasons, and all various competitions, whether it be NACE League and any of that those 2 teams might have met. It was always kind of close, but UST kind of, I mean, maybe saying that they had their number was a little bit too strong, but they're usually always able to find a way to kind of squeak out a victory at the very end, as we saw. I mean, it did go all the way to a map 3. It was a 2-1 victory for the St. Thomas Valorant team. But yeah, I do agree with I mean, getting that initial week 1 win last season, which it did look very good, but then the follow-up was just obviously not there. And I think, especially with such a grueling opening schedule, I mean, this first week matchup against a Cumberland team that they did beat last semester it's going to be super, super important, because I mean, I'll go off again. Cumberland, Fisher, St. Clair, Maryville, Winthrop. You're not going to go 5-0.
No, it's
you might not even go 4-1 or 3-2. But so you have to kind of stack these wins when you can get them. And Cumberland in the very first week of the season is a win that they definitely can and need to get.
And here's the thing: if they do go 5-0, they better win the whole thing, because you don't go 5-0 against those 5 teams and not win NACE. It's one of those things that if this team is going to do it, they're gonna do it in the first. I honestly think if they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it in the first 4 weeks. Right? Take away that Winthrop match.
Okay.
Because we saw what they can do against Winthrop in that last game
at the end of the regular season. It was a massive matchup, and they looked fantastic.
And I am confident that they can and will do that again. There's still that history with A77 and Guck, going out there. I apologize, I almost used their real names, but with A77 and Guck having come from that roster, that fire is still burning, especially after that win, and then not being able to see them in the postseason, right? I think that was a big issue, is that they were not able to see them in the postseason after that loss to St. Clair. So there's still kind of that underbelly. So in my opinion, it's really going to come down to those 4 weeks. That opening game against Cumberland, that should be a win, right? But then there's just that 3: Fisher, Maryville, St. Clair. those 3 matches, in my opinion, will decide the season.
Well, it's. I mean, and you have to remember this season, they're only going to play 7 matches.
Yeah.
In Nace play. So I mean, those 3, it's almost half their entire season. So absolutely, it's going to be such an important stretch there, and I mean a brutal stretch. There are no bye weeks here. It is every single week, and then you have this long grueling match against a really tough opponent, and then it's going to be like a day of like, oh, what we did wrong, and then it's 5 days of prep work and scouting and vodding and scrimming and trying to fix like. And I mean, you got to think like during this off season, what have they been working on? What have they been trying to fix? We saw, I mean, some of their issues last season, and converting these rounds, like converting these 2v1s, these 3v2s that they lost way more than they should have.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so these small issues that that this coaching staff is definitely going to have to address, and we're just going to see what kind of changes they made, because it is the same roster. So there's no there's no kind of personnel changes. So you have to think that the mechanics and the planning and the little micro and macro things are going to get a lot better.
Yeah, there's no personnel changes anywhere. There's no personnel changes at the top for WVU. Josh, still the director. There's no personnel changes coaching-wise. Terms still cranking out some crazy stuff. There's no personnel changes in terms of who's playing what. We saw them fall into their line at the end of the season with Inox still being that IGL. So it, like you said, it really does depend on what kind of work they're able to put in right now and what's going to happen going towards the future.
I mean, at the end of last season, we saw the role swap.
Yep.
A little bit with Excite and Inox kind of, switching up a little bit on between the
initiation,
flash and the info initiator. So, is that going to stick? Are they going to move back? I mean, they did find success with it. So, interested to see, if there are any more changes. I mean, or if they're going to kind of keep rolling with what they have. But that's, I believe, a pretty good summation of our Val team last year. And then, just the kind of the schedule makers obviously did not do them any favors so far, looking forward. But
let's look into someone that a team that has now been boosted into the Super Conference as we predicted so many times last season, and that's the Call of Duty team. Now, look, I'm not gonna lie. This team has undergone some serious personnel changes, and it is what I would like to focus on for a majority of the postseason last semester. The postseason was cut short after not receiving the first seed. They were actually given the second seed in that tournament, in that postseason tournament, and they were able to go through, I believe it was until quarters?
Well, it was a lot earlier than I think a lot of us expected them to exit, just based on how strong they looked all season.
A majority of what we want to talk about here with the COD postseason focuses on what happened in the regular season. They weren't beat until week 5, and that wasn't even in Nace. They were beat in Playfly to Northwood. They hadn't dropped a map until who knows how long. They dropped, I believe it was the one map to Akron.
Yes, it was.
And again, that was in Playfly. In Nace, it just didn't happen. And throughout the beginning of that season, you had your starting 4. You had Ciara, you had Ethan, you had Cribs, and you had Vitali, right? That's what you had. But then towards the end of the season, we had a lot of personnel issues. You had Cribs in and out. You had just Ciaro in and out. You had the only person that was locked down every single match was Ethan. And once again, Ethan will be returning to this roster, as will Ciaro. But if you haven't heard it, Vitali has left the team, his own volition. He's still on campus. But he will no longer be playing for WVU Esports. And Cribs dropped from the roster. So that is going to leave Tables and Strike, 2 people who we saw become some pretty reliable stars. I remember it was the game against Sarasota where Tables debuted, and we were like, this kid can be something.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, when you have this carousel of personnel going into the going into the postseason, that's not going to lead to a successful playoff run. It is never going to lead to a successful playoff run. We saw it one time in the NFL, and Brock Purdy didn't win that Super
Mm-mm.
Bowl.
Brock Purdy
You
did
know?
not win that Super Bowl.
So-
I mean, continuity is so, I mean, underrated. I kind of want to call it underrated, but I think people can kind of understand, how important something like that is, and having 50% of your roster being replaced in just a semester's time is obviously I mean, as well as being bumped to now the top conference in all of NACE. It is going to be a pretty daunting task for this team, and we don't really have a ton of tape to look at just because of how much has changed in these past couple of weeks. And I mean, I guess another kind of sneaky issue that a lot of people aren't going to think about striking table were on the roster last year as reserves. They have now been moved to starters. There are no reserves.
Yeah. So I was going to get to that.
If someone's sick,
Yeah.
if we have more issues like we had that last semester,
Yeah.
there's
So-
there's no solution now.
And another problem is that Cribbs was the top fragger. He was the one going out there dropping the 20, the 30. So finding out who's going to replace that, if you had asked me last semester if it was just Cribbs that dropped, I would say, oh, Vitali. Oh, well, okay. Vitali's not there. So now who is it? And a major problem is that I'd say Tables had a really good amount of time last semester. He came in, I'd say about 2/3 of the way through, got a good amount of the regular season in, and then all of the postseason. But Strike does not have a lot of time with this team. So this is going to be a very, very big test in a super conference that is looking pretty impressive. We're looking at some of the notable names I'm going to say here: Akron, Cumberland, and St. Clair. Those are the three teams that I'm looking at. But then I'm also looking at some names that we've beaten before. And Oklahoma Christian. Oklahoma Christian is that number one team in there. They won it all last year, and they're looking to repeat again. But University of Northern Texas, Dallas, a team that we handily took care of in NACE last year, also getting moved up to the Super Conference with us. Keanu, a team in Ontario, Canada, Conestoga as well. Those are two teams that we have never seen before, and teams that I'm excited to get to know through the Super Conference. But it's not going to be an easy task.
No, it's not. And looking forward, similar enough to Valorant, actually, Cumberland is going to be that week one matchup against West Trinity. And then, you talked about the University of North Texas at Dallas. That will actually be, our week two matchup. So, a little bit of familiarity there. And then moving on, we do have, and then, after that week two matchup against UNTD, Oklahoma Christian, week three, the reigning champions. That is really going to be kind of that's going to be the stress test for this team because, looking at Cumberland and looking at UNTD, I understand that obviously this roster has gone through a lot of turnovers, but UNTD was a team that they looked great against last semester. Yeah. And, so expectations-wise, I don't see any reasons why we cannot look, at least a little bit close to that. Even in this upper next conference, but then obviously that week three matchup against Oklahoma Christian is going to be rough.
Yeah, and then if you actually just look a little bit past that, the week after that is Akron, the team that gave them their first map drop. Now, again, they ended up winning the game overall, but that first map drop, and if you're coming off of a loss to Oklahoma Christian, that could possibly be a redemption game and one that you're going into off of a loss. It's never easy. So it's one of those things that that's one of the storylines that is definitely going to be interesting into that week 3 into 4 scenario.
Well, then I think probably the main goal for this roster this semester is just stability and consistency, getting back on the right track. Not only just keep winning, but also just keep everyone focused, keep everyone locked down, and understand like this is going to be a new team. We're gonna have some up and downs, but it's all part of the process here. And we can't obviously. You wanted to talk about we can't afford to have half the roster just drop out mid-season.
Yeah,
we just strictly do not have anyone to replace them.
We have four members starting, and that is it. And these 4 members need to find an answer for Search and Destroy. If we're talking about now going into their gameplay, if just to touch on the gameplay a little bit, I know that you and I are not necessarily perfectly versed, but that Search and Destroy needs to be fixed because it was by far the worst map type for this roster, and we saw the struggles in both the regular season and in the postseason.
They always seem to make that search and destroy map closer than they need to be. And a lot of times they just ended up losing it, especially because the format was map 1 hardpoint, map 2 search and destroy, map 3 control, and then it would just recycle.
Yeah.
On hardpoint, it was kind
Lights
of
out.
insane. It was 250 to 5 sometimes. I mean, this roster looked so unbelievably dominant on hardpoint, and then it'll turn around on the search and destroy game mode. Obviously different because it's not a respawn game mode. Unlike hardpoint and a little bit like control, I know you have limited respawns, but you still have 20, 30 respawns.
30,
so,
yeah.
but I mean, it's such a drastic change in how you play, and it's a lot more strategic. It's not nearly as many gunfights. Not just about like I'm mechanically better than you. That means I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like kind of these mastermind plans and these different tactics that we kind of saw them struggle with.
Yeah, and that right there is really where I think that this team having no more personnel change can really help. Because think about if you're a player on a team that has 1 point with all just really good technical skill, right? You can go out and you can win that hard point because you're just going to sit there and you're going to technically beat the other team. But when you move into search and destroy, when you're talking about, again, I'm going to say it, a carousel of revolving people, you are not going to be able to really get comfortable and be able to really lock down what you're going to need in terms of strategy. Because think about it. You've been on a collegiate esports
Yes, I
roster,
have.
right? I want you to think about when you're on a roster that is really good friends, they've been together for a while, how easy are those communications?
It is kind of insane how much of a difference it makes, and you wouldn't really think about it, but just the continuity and the consistency that you can have, because I played Overwatch collegiately, and I imagine it's the same thing for Call of Duty. Just kind of it's not only just these guys, but it's you trust them. You know what you can do, and your teammate's going to have your back. You know what kind of plays that you can kind of be allowed to make. A lot of times, if the roster just changing in and out every single week, you kind of have to play a little bit more safe, a little bit more bland, just because you don't really know what's going to happen if you try and go for this crazy flank or you try and go for this this new lineup that But I mean, with a team that and that you trust, you can kind of go for these more creative and the kind of, I think not really risky, but just kind of like strategic plans that can really reap some great benefits.
Yeah, and I think that trust word is the most important thing. When you're talking about a roster of 4 people that have been together for a while, you're talking about one brain that's acting as 4 people, right? But when you're talking about a roster that's completely just cycling in and out, you're talking about 4 people that are trying to make one thing work.
It's closer to playing ranked than it is to playing as
Exactly.
an actual professional collegiate team.
Yeah, so we will see if they can fix that up. But the last game on our topic today, Rocket League,
and it's a big one.
It's a big one.
Rocket League, both rosters, Lotus and obviously our Super Conference roster. So NACE play has not started yet. Starts soon, I believe early February, but CRL already underway. They've played in 2 open qualifiers so far, top 8 in one, not top 8 in another one, so they're a little bit already behind the 8 ball. They're going to have to perform really well in these next couple tournaments to make sure that they qualify. But now, last season, this Rocket League roster going for a 3-peat. It's fairly unprecedented in esports to go for this type of achievement, and it's safe to say that they fell short.
Yes, fell short is all I'm going to say about that. They got a very, very slow start is the best way to put it. I think that the start of the season is really what led to the end. They picked it up at the end, I'll give it that.
They did.
But, that doesn't really matter because you're not going in as that 1 seed. I'll tell you, they had a couple of good CRL weekends, but never really eclipsing those top 4. Always in that 5th to 6th range, and that's exactly where I thought they belonged in NACE last year, in that 5th to 6th range.
Yeah, and that's about where they ended up. We talked about kind of the slow start. Started off 1-4 in NACE play with losses to Akron 3-0, with losses to Ole Miss 3-0, with losses to St. Clair 3-1, and then Illinois State a 3-2 loss there as well. And then coming back from that, able to string together a couple wins in a row to at least make it into playoffs, and against Harrisburg, able to get a round 1 win in those playoffs, but then came up back against Maryville
Yeah.
A much earlier exit than I think almost everyone expected from this, because it was the same roster.
Yeah.
It was the same roster that we had seen have so much success.
It was the
It was the
two-time national
It was the
championship
same roster that we just saw won 2 straight championships.
Yeah.
So I mean, it not to say that like, oh, it had to be a three-peat or bust, but I mean, coming back from that level of success and to having kind of the season where you
not
where you
even
do
making
fall
grands.
short.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely was kind of a bit of a kick in the teeth for this team, but I mean, with that comes a little bit of extra motivation, a little bit of extra firepower in your gut to kind of come back and come into this next season, with some drive, with some determination to get back to what you once were.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
with
this is
week 1 against Akron.
Yeah. Oh my
What
gosh.
a place! What a place to start.
It's also Angel's last season.
Mhm.
So this is going to be his last chance to
Mhm.
prove before Gyro comes in and hopefully, gets us back to that pedestal. But Angel's got a lot to prove, and I think that a lot of the season is going to be defined by how he plays. Again, he has been here since the inception of WVU esports. He has led us to those
He
two
has
great
filled a
trophies
trophy cabinet.
that we're looking at right now. And his legacy is cemented here.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. That is never in question, and it never will be in question. And anyone who does question it, get out. But he can go out on top. I seriously would question anyone. I would challenge anyone to give me a better collegiate rocket player career in history. I would.
That's the
because
question.
because that is what we're looking at this point. Is we're talking about 3 of the greatest collegiate rocket league players to do it, and if they want to cement themselves as that, they need to do it in this season.
Well, absolutely. And then, look into our Lotus roster. I mean, last season was kind of the opposite from our Super Conference roster, in just that there were no expectations for this team. They hadn't really had much time together, and then in their very first season, Varsity Plus makes it all the way. And look at them now; they're playing in the very last match of the entire season. Did end up falling,
to the St. Clair Academy,
in the championship to the St. Clair Academy roster. But I mean, for a team with literally no expectations to come out and look that strong all year and end up making it all the way to the divisional championships, it was so incredibly impressive. And now this season, same division, same Varsity Plus, they have now they're the ones with kind of like the burden of expectations, and we're going to have to see how they react to that.
And we're going to see if they can finally overcome that hump of St. Clair Academy. I do believe they were 0-2 on the season against them. And I do think they can. I think that this roster has had a good amount of time together. I think Yak has really found that solid offensive position. Emma on that defense, and Hira just really playing all around that field. But I mean, Hira and Emma in that backcourt is really just super duper.
Well, we really watched them grow and evolve. As a team and as a roster, and kind of where they moved everyone around, and kind of what roles everyone needed to fill. And now that I think that they know more about that, and they know more about how they want to play, I mean, I definitely think that success is in their future. And opening up Montevallo week 1, and then they play University of Mississippi in week 2, and then week 3, the grudge match, the championship rematch against that St. Clair Academy roster, which they have not yet been able to slay that giant. So interested to see kind of where this option has taken them and what kind of improvements they can make. But that is going to be about it.
That's the league ladder.
For our league ladder.
Wow, good first segment.
Good first segment. And now
we're going to send it to a quick 30-second ad break. Again, if you're a sub, you don't have to deal with that. But we will be back with expert opinion, and you guys will get to see who our special guest is. What's going on, everybody? Surprise, surprise. Our guest, the newest member of the Rocket League team, Gyro. Wonderful to have you here. Why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your gaming past.
All right. Thanks for introducing me. I'm Gyro. I play Rocket League for Deleted Gaming right now and WVU. I've been playing pro for about like 6, 7 years. I started playing the game in 2015, so
Okay.
I've been playing for almost a decade now. And yeah, so wow, I just said that out loud.
Right? Right? Isn't that
No,
crazy?
that's crazy.
It's like you never really realize how much you've been involved in the esports world until you put it out there. But yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years.
That's crazy.
In July, it'll be 10 years. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. And now you find yourself here on the country roads, as the title would
that
would
what we call it?
suggest. That's the title of this show, on the country roads. But look, we are so happy to have you. I still remember in the meetings when we were like, guys, don't tell anybody, but we're getting John. And I was like, no freaking way. So really, first question is for me, and this is a genuine question.
Yeah.
From me is, why WVU?
Hmm. WVU. Well, honestly, I had a lot of I had a lot of people messaging me for going to their university and
Mhm.
everything like that. Honestly, there were a lot of things that brought me to WVU. I think the program here is great.
Mhm.
I think the academics are really good too. I like the players on the team a
Yeah.
lot. And honestly, you guys have the best merch out of every other CRL
Best
team.
merch.
Yeah,
Okay.
easily.
Okay. Hey, I like it. No, if the merch is what does it, then yeah. But I mean, you touched on it. The teammates that you're going to be playing with, mainly, that's going to be. What does he go by now? Is it Matter? Are we
Yeah,
sticking with
Matt.
Matter? Okay.
Matter.
Yeah. So, Matter and Tool
Mhm.
gonna be by your side once you take over this position next semester. Have you ever played with those guys before in a draft tournament or anything like that, or have you just seen them in competition?
I just play them in ranked a lot.
Yeah.
Ahem. I play I play them in ranked a lot, and I think maybe I played them once or twice in like a private server.
Yeah.
But I just know that they're good. I think Angel and Tool have been playing for like 6 years at least. Like
Yeah.
just like me. Matt's a bit newer,
Mhm.
but kid's got a lot of mechanics.
Oh my
So
God.
pretty excited to see how we
It's
do.
it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Um, Now let's talk about that. You said you've now been playing for what is going to be a decade.
Yeah.
So you have played in the pro scene. That's something that not a lot of people can say in terms of anything that they do. So what was your experience in the pro scene, and how you think it's going to relate to this collegiate team?
Honestly, the main thing I think I could take away from being a pro, besides like high level competition all the
Mhm.
time, would be how to coordinate or like how to deal with scrims and like act as a team. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of, especially like most CRL teams aren't like fully just pro players on it.
Yeah.
They don't really know exactly how a team should be working together or like bonding or anything like that. So I think I would take a more like leadership role because
Mhm.
I have the most experience on the team,
Yeah.
and I think that'll help a lot. We've been doing a little bit of scrimming, you
Yeah.
know.
I, hey, I would hope so. You
So
know, but and because you are coming in for what for someone who has been the leader of this team for so long, Angel. So to slot right in there is definitely going to be something very important. So what do you think at this point in your career has been your biggest accomplishment, whether that be in the pro scene or otherwise?
um, honestly, I think I have a few accomplishments that I'm happy about, which I should be because I've been doing it for so
Yeah,
long.
yeah, yeah.
But I won the LAN in 2019, but that was so long ago. So like, I don't even. I just bring it up to bring it up.
I mean, that was halfway through your career.
Yeah, I bring it up to bring it up,
Yeah.
but like that I guess at this point it's been so long that my best accomplishments are probably just like still making like top fours
Yeah.
in RLCS like 10 years later.
Hmm.
And I haven't missed a single regional is in ever. There
Wow.
are like 4 players in like I don't know if it's NA or in the world that have made every single regional. I've made every single one,
That is outstanding.
so that's pretty cool.
I mean, that's consistency that you don't really see a lot because esports is a very revolving thing. You know, teams are constantly changing, people constantly going in and out, but consistently being able to find yourself in a position with a team to make those regionals, you cannot, you can't complain there.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm gonna cut you off
yeah.
before anyone says anything. I'm only 22, so I said I've been playing for 10 years, but I'm not like 26 years old. I just wanted to point that out
Hey.
there. I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that.
You got that absolutely. You never want to seem older than you are, I guess. So you don't want to date yourself by seeming that, but that just makes these accomplishments even more impressive. You know, only being 22 and still having all of these accolades, and hopefully coming in and gonna get more. So let's kind of transition now into you on this roster here at WVU.
Yep.
So you're gonna be the sub for this semester until Angel goes, right? And then after that, you're gonna fully take over as a full-time starter. When you're in, actually, no, you know what? Let's start with this semester. What
Yep.
do you see your role as that sub member? What do you see your role as right now this semester?
Honestly, it's a little bit of a interesting position.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm not really too sure exactly what is gonna happen this semester, but for right now, I think I'm just giving them like an extra helping hand.
Yeah.
There sometimes for replay reviews, get some insight because I think the boys like they trust my opinion a lot,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to hear that. And there's not really much to it. I mean, we all get the same like practice. We all get like stuff that the coach wants us to do.
Mhm.
So I mean, right now, I've done a few scrims already. Just testing it out.
Yeah.
But not too sure what the rest of the semester holds.
Yeah, no, I mean that's exactly what you want to hear from your sub member is that person that says, you know, I'm going to be there, I'm going to provide that support no matter what. And especially having it's interesting essentially having someone on that sub roster who is arguably more experienced. But the fact that you are still willing to do that is just wonderful. So now moving into next semester, we kind of talked about what kind of player you wanted to be on that roster. You said you wanted to be that leader. So what is your goal for this roster in that next semester and the time following that? You know, what's the end goal there?
Win it all, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
this
I want to
team-
help them.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
even like outside of like collegiate,
Mm-hmm.
like I want to be able to give them enough like knowledge or
Mhm.
experience of like how they should be playing on their
Yeah.
like actual other teams outside, so they know like what's wrong, what's right. I mean, they're already all like
Yeah.
they're like high tier players, anyways. Like I'm saying that like they're like bubble
Yeah.
or like low bubble players or something. They're still really good. So, I mean, I just hope to help them, and I hope to find like a play style that we could all work with and
Absolutely.
get good with.
Add some more of those big trophies to the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, those two get to some more lands. And actually, speaking of which, this season the NACE finals are not just the grand finals. So the in-person LAN is actually going to be the total sum of the top 8 teams. So all 8 of those teams are going to go down to Orlando to compete. That obviously is that top 8 a goal for you guys both this semester and next semester?
Yes.
Yeah. You know.
I mean, yeah, that's top 8 for CRL gets invited to the Naceland.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
So it is very, very important that we recognize just the work that has gone in the past, and then obviously the future that I'm sitting with right here. So let's just go a little bit away from esports. How's your
Yeah.
time in Morgantown been?
Morgan, honestly, when I first got here, it was a little bit like different because I live in New York and it's still cold there.
Yep.
But
It's a different
it's
kind of cold.
I think the cold here is better.
Really?
Because it's like New York, like you could be like layered and layered, and you'll still feel cold underneath because
Mhm.
it's just like damp.
Yeah.
But here it's like it's pretty nice. I think my main issue is like getting to school. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's a battle for my life. because the hills
The
with
hills,
the
baby.
snow or the ice. Oh my god! But honestly, like I've only fallen once.
Oh, is
I've
that
only
all?
fallen
Only
once.
once? All
Yeah.
right. Hey,
So
that's not bad.
I found out like alternate paths because the way I was going was really steep, and I found a different way to get there. So that was one thing.
Always finding those shortcuts is
Mhm.
very important. But yeah, I mean, Morgantown's a great area.
Yeah.
A lot of outside activities, as I'm sure you might or might not have partaken in.
Honestly,
You know,
I'm
no,
not like
no
into that
comment
much.
there. Yeah.
But I mean, the food here, honestly, I don't know if I'm like, I don't know if I'm wrong, but like the food here, every time I've eaten out, like it's just, it's like great food compared to like where I was
Yeah.
at least. It's really good
Easy.
food.
How have and what major are you?
Well, I'm business right now,
Hmm.
but I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking into engineering, but I feel like it's a very difficult field,
It is
and right now I don't know if I can handle that
on
much
top of.
with everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have a bunch of friends in the engineering majors, and as great as a program as it is here at
Hmm.
WVU, it is very, very intense.
Yeah.
But have your classes been going well?
Yeah. Classes are great.
Yeah.
I honestly like all my teachers, which
Good.
is great.
Look
Yeah.
at that.
Uh,
I feel like that's something that a lot of people overlook when they're talking about collegiate esports is that the players are students too. Like a lot of the decision making that goes into choosing a school is going to be like you're going to be living there. You're going
yeah.
to be actively going to
Yeah.
school there. So little things like enjoying all your professors is something that's incredibly important.
Yeah. I mean, and the guys on the CRL team are great too. We've hung out a couple times.
Yeah.
You know, felt they were very welcoming.
Yeah,
You know, I
it's
just got here. They were like, "Hey, you want to hang out? Want to go get some food?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's
yeah.
get some food."
It's a great time. I've had the pleasure of working with those guys for about 2 years now, and they are wonderful. And I'm sure that they are extremely happy to have you here, and we're happy to finally introduce you to the Mountaineer Nation.
Yeah.
But in terms of this segment, expert opinion, we're gonna go ahead and cut it there. But we're going to be back again with Gyro for Clip Farmer, which I'm really excited about because we're gonna go over some Rocket League clips.
Ooh.
So
I
you're gonna really get to show off your prowess here.
Great.
So we'll be back after a short 30-second break. Do not go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody. Still here with Gyro for our next segment, and a segment that I think is going to become very, very fun. Clip Farmer. So today we're going to look through 4 clips, all of which come from your watch party of CRL. So you're already you might remember these clips a little bit, but we're just going to watch them, react to them here, and then break it down a little bit. Go on to the next. We have 2 clips from our Lotus roster and 2 clips from our main RL roster and their performance on last Saturday's CRL. So without further ado, let's get into the first clip.
Yeah, let's look at it. Oh, we're on Yak POV. I love this POV. Nice.
Yeah. So
Looking great.
Yak's offensive. Off
was-
the top bar.
I want.
Going crazy over
Yeah, I
there.
must have said something because it's muted. I don't hear anything. Yeah. I mean, that was great. I mean,
Yeah. Well, so Yak has really turned into an offensive powerhouse for this team. Because at the beginning of the season, for this Lotus roster, we were like, he's kind of playing both offense, defense, that support, what have you. But towards the end of the season, he really solidified himself as just an offensive powerhouse. And I think that clip right there shows it. That dribbling to that crossbar pass was just great. So with your infinite knowledge of this game, you just
infinite,
want
for
to go
sure.
ahead and break down what we saw a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, do we pull it up again or do I just?
Yeah,
do it?
Mirror, go ahead and pull up
Can we
again.
pull it up again one more
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
please?
Mirror, go ahead and pull that one up.
Please. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, I mean, that was actually really smart because there was one guy and he popped it over him and he could have rushed it, but he takes it to the ground because they gave him a lot of space and he forced a double commit. Oh, great. Great. I mean, maybe he could have passed the middle initially, but that was a great play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hero was there too. I mean, Hero trusted it. It was good because even if Hero like trusted it and it went over her, Emma was still behind. So that was like a completely safe, like good offensive opportunity there from
So
the
now,
Lotus.
do you think that original bump towards the net? Do you think he was trying to score, or was that side bump there setting up Hero?
Oh, that was. I'm assuming that was just a pass because
Okay.
can't really flick it from there. And
Yeah.
I think he was starting to get too close to the net, so he had to flick it that early.
Yeah.
He probably didn't want to. He might have been able to cut it around, but it would have been a little awkward. So yeah.
And I think you touched on it a little bit, but the overcommit by the defense there was a really important part of why that goal was able to happen. So when you're on offense in Rocket League, what do you think is one of the best ways to try and get that other team to overcommit?
When you're on offense,
Yeah, so like you're running down the field with the ball. What's a tactic that you would use to try and get a team to overcommit so that you could have a free goal?
honestly, it's mostly just like baiting around, like making them like jump at something even though you have them beat, and then just getting around it, following it up, getting it to a teammate maybe. Honestly, if you're playing faster than them and you're getting pretty decent touches, it goes without saying, but if you do that, then they just can't keep up because when you're on defense, you just have the net to cover, but when you're on offense, you just go around them, you could go wherever. So it's a little bit more awkward for the defense if you could do that. But I mean, yeah, that right there just showed he played it quick, he controlled it, he got it past 2, 3 players. I'm just open net. So
Interesting. I've never thought about that. How when the defense you just have the net, but the offense really has that whole area to work with.
yeah,
It's a very interesting way to think about it. And that clip of course coming from the Lotus roster and a beautiful goal there. So let's go on to our next cream of the crop from Clip Farmers. Let's go on and see this next clip. I'm actually not sure what
yeah. Is it a?
team this.
Oh, it's a
Okay,
Lotus
so we
clip.
got another
Okay.
Lotus clip.
So we got M's on the ball. That's just the goal. Oh, great! I remember that. I remember that now.
Yeah, so go ahead and break it down real quick.
Okay, so this is actually I think so both goals are really nice because they're both like counterattack, like quick plays. That's how like that's one of the best ways to score in Rocket League is if you could get a counterattack. So she did a really good job here by hitting it to the corner so that she could follow it up again like that, hit it to the corner, land on the wall, and you pre-flip to beat them.
Yeah.
That's like the best time to play the ball quick because when you're on defense, you want to speed up the ball, you want to get it out of your half, and you want to like pressure the other team by hitting it towards their side.
Yeah, and
And she did that and scored at the same time because the other team was caught off guard by how good she touched that the first time.
yeah, and I noticed the jump off the wall there. She utilizes the rest of her boost,
Yeah.
in with the knowledge that that net was essentially open. I don't even know where the third defender is for the. Oh, it looks like he's trying to wrap back around.
Honestly,
Yeah.
like that was a good play with or without a goal. Like to
Yeah.
get the ball out of defense like that without like she got a clean beat too. Like there was no one there to block it.
Yeah.
So even if that didn't go in the net initially, like they were out of defense, both her teammates probably got full boost off of that.
Yeah.
And they could hold the pressure right there, challenge it back. It's net positive.
I
Really
think
good.
yeah, that's a very insightful thing. Like you said, not everything is necessarily about the goal there.
Yeah.
Just the play being made in general. We see the ball making these long launches back and forth, but after she was essentially sitting in net for a little bit,
Yeah.
caught that angle and went up with it, and it just so happened to,
Yeah,
to
it's-
go
well,
cross
I mean, it was
field
a
for a
great play.
goal.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's why you take it out of defense quick because you caught them off guard because they weren't ready for it. It
Yeah,
was good. It was a great
absolutely.
play.
And in other situations where perhaps your other teammate is on there, if that doesn't make it in, well, the rest of the team is there and
Yeah.
maybe can maneuver something else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very, very nice thing. So now let's move on to our main roster and let's see what they're cooking up in the kitchen. All right, so Angel,
That was the Angel.
grab
Yeah,
the boost. Oh, great defense there.
yeah. The other team's playing good.
But
Look at the pressure here.
yeah.
Look-
Oh, what an
Like that. Okay. That play. Honestly, in the moment, I was like, wow, that is like. Look at that play. That is Matt right there. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like that is a great play. That gets scored on, like against most pro teams probably. Like that is a world class goal right there.
And you said look at the pressure. Where exactly are we looking at that pressure?
I mean, see, this is where I meant like when you're on offense, you want. So I said on defense, you want to play it quick. You want to get it out.
Mhm.
When you're on offense, however, you want to control it a bit more. So like here, like Matt, obviously he got a goal out of it. But if we look at the beginning of the clip, like they're just playing to put shots on net,
Yeah.
force them to make a bad save. There's a save, gets a boost, shot, awkward for them, shot again, blocked. Tools driving through, hits it wall. Angel, he goes for a 50 here. He doesn't even try to score. And then Matt, he's there. Just eventually, they took all the boost and they couldn't cover it. They were able to cover everything up until that point. And honestly, like that was just a great play. Like they'll probably score in like another minute of doing this, but
Yeah.
Matt just he took a shortcut.
Yeah,
He got a great goal.
Like so kind of just whittling them down.
Yeah.
Taking all of their resources until you can eventually find a way to sneak it in. And like you said, Matt just did it a little bit flashier and early. But a lot of the mechanics that we're seeing is a lot of what this team has relied on so heavily in their two national championship runs
Yeah.
is just their hyper aggressiveness on offense.
Yeah. Great
has
positioning.
has been just so impactful for them, and Matter just coming out with an absolutely insane goal and stealing those boost pads, like you said. The other team just kind of hopeless there.
Yeah, I
all-
mean, look at it. Look at the rotation. Everyone one in, one out, one in, one out. Like one
Yeah.
person bumps. Like they're covering everything, getting all the boost. Even if they have no boost, they're staying with it because they know they're playing faster. Like they're just playing faster right now.
Yeah.
They can't. The other team is stuck in the net, while Angel, Tool, and Matt are just driving all around them, taking all the boost.
Yeah.
You know.
That high octane offense is something that we hope to see a lot of this semester.
Yep.
And continue when you get into the fray, because you obviously like to play that way. But let's go ahead and take a look at our last clip from Clip Farmer. Let's see what Angel, Tool, and Matt got for us.
Come on, remind me.
Oh, Tool.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, I remember that.
Oh.
Okay,
Oh my gosh.
dude, that goal was this the same game too? They are playing great. That was like that started with Matt, I think, because I said
Mhm.
how you play fast out of defense.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think Matt had like 10 boosts there. Like he can't really get it out that well.
Yeah.
And look how he's not able to clear that ball very powerfully. So he controls it, takes a 50, loses it to his teammate on purpose, and then Tool passes it to Matt with a fake. So the other team can't just instantly go.
Yeah.
And that's like perfect right there. And Angel is just he's like, yeah, I'm right here, yeah, and then open that pretty much for
Yeah.
Angel. I mean, that was just. I mean, I think all players there played that actually perfectly. They all like stayed in the play. Matt, he wasn't able to clear it out because the bounce was too awkward. Yet he knew he had to 50 that back to his teammate, and then they just followed each other up. Like that was just teamwork. That was a team play.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
little switcheroo there between Matt and Tool,
Yeah.
like you said, it didn't really allow the defense to make a decision, or commit to anything.
Yeah.
And then Angel comes in over the top, and I'm not sure if that defender just didn't have the boost, but Angel able to sneak it in there. A beautiful, beautiful play, and again playing off of the defense, like you said, yeah, turning that defense into offense quickly, um, is something that's very, very important, and they did a lot there.
Yeah. I mean,
Whew.
3 of these goals were all like. I mean, I'll count this as a counter attack. Yeah. 3 of these goals were counter attacks, just like catching the opponents off guard, making a good play.
Yeah.
And then obviously one of them was just us like holding pressure the whole time, like, and then Matt just puts it
Just
away. Whatever, yeah,
puts it
I mean,
away,
whatever,
from
yeah,
the top ropes.
yeah.
Just
So
absolutely insane. But I mean, a very, very short and condensed little clip farmer, because Rocket League is really the only thing that we've had going on recently. But once the COD and Val games start going, we're gonna have some crazy stuff for you. But those 4 clips, just a little snippet of what is to come for this semester. We're gonna take another 30-second break before we come back with our next segment. welcome back, everybody. And now, Will joining us back here with Gyro. This is going to be a very fun segment, and we still don't know what the topic is. Welcome to Hot Seat. We're gonna get a topic, and we're each gonna share our feelings about said topic. And things might get heated, things might get funny. We don't know. So, as the hot seat warms up, if we could please have our topic. So the topic is that Rocket League is the hardest game to go pro in. You obviously have some opinions about it.
Honestly, hard disagree.
Oh. Go ahead and
I mean, do you
share,
guys
please.
disagree? I mean,
Yeah.
disagree.
No, go.
Okay. So Rocket League, it's open format. Obviously, I think staying at the top might be one of the hardest, but once you get there, I think like it's pretty easy to go pro considering like I don't know, there's a different like meaning for it every time, but if you make a regional top 16 in your region, I think that's considered pro for the most part, and anyone can play. And I think games like COD or like I don't know other games like Overwatch, Valorant, maybe like they're franchise, so like
Yeah.
it's really hard to go pro in a franchise game. You have to get picked up, or else that's it. There's no like open qualifier.
Yeah, so I'm going to absolutely agree with Gyro here. No, I'm gonna agree with Gyro here, and disagree with the statement profoundly, and simply because of how esports works. Franchised esports is one of the most difficult things to go pro in. You cannot convince me otherwise. It's just how it is. Any game that has a open qualified system, whether that be now Rocket League, now Overwatch. It used to be franchised, no longer franchised anymore. Or Fortnite, whatever. But anything that is franchised, so when we're talking about Apex, we're talking about COD, we're talking about Valorant, talking about League, things of that nature. Those games are, and I'm not going to give a specific game, I'm going to give a type. Franchised in general is harder to go pro in. And Rocket League, as of right now, is not franchised, so therefore it's not the hardest to go pro in.
I was really hoping one of you guys would agree, just
Yeah.
so we could argue.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's a bad topic.
Well, I guess we just blame Gabe. I mean, but yeah, I do agree with you guys. It's definitely not the hardest game to go pro. And I'm going to talk a little bit less about the physical act of going pro, franchise, and otherwise, just talk about what games are the hardest to become the best in the world at. And for me, I think that's StarCraft 2. I think StarCraft 2, as soon as the game boots up, you are 80, 90 actions per minute, the whole game. You cannot make a mistake. There is so little margin for error. And like we'll just compare it to Rocket League since that was the question. If you're the pro, you're down 3-1 or 4-1 with 2.5 minutes left, is that game over? It's not. If you're down, not even like by a considerable margin in a game like StarCraft, it's kind of just GG. You have to play perfectly the entire time, and and also the people that have been at the top of StarCraft 2 have been at the top for so long. It is such a hard barrier to kind of break through, and like it's almost been like the same scene for so long, and that ladder and the leaderboard has stayed the same just because the people that are really good, it is so hard to dethrone them just because it's just like a different level that a lot of gamers don't have that type of skill ceiling.
Well, the problem there is that Gyro's got something to say. The problem there is that StarCraft is just not big. I know you don't care, but like when we're talking,
why does that matter?
Because when we're talking about going pro, I could talk about a pro pickleballer, and then are you going to compare that to Patrick Mahomes in the NFL?
StarCraft is still a massive esport. Maybe not in America.
Comparatively.
What are we talking about? StarCraft is a massive esport. Maybe not specifically in this country, but overseas and like especially in like
what's the revenue?
Dude, who knows?
Exactly.
But it's big. Of course it's big. It's been around for 20 years.
Well, yeah. Congrats. So is Tetris. Let me go to the Tetris World Finals and tell them.
They-
Honestly,
they
Tetris.
they
That is
also put up
that is
numbers.
yeah. That's difficult.
Tetris put up numbers,
Tetris
too.
Pros, ridiculous. They do that freaking
Yeah, they
thing.
smack
Yeah.
the back of the controller to
Yeah.
get more inputs. It's crazy.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think StarCraft is too niche to be considered in this conversation.
Niche.
I think it's
made
too
by
niche to be-
Blizzard.
Okay, well, Blizzard's on the downfall.
It's still maybe the biggest video game company in the world. It's not niche.
All right. Well, in comparison to when someone thinks about esports, their mind, of course, we do. When someone thinks about esports, their mind doesn't go to StarCraft.
Unless they play StarCraft. Or
I am willing to
other
bet.
games.
I'm willing to bet that 9 times out of 10, if you ask 10 people what they think about when they think about esports, they're not going to say StarCraft.
At WVU, you're probably right.
No, globally.
No.
Anyway, Gyro, you want something to say?
I just don't know what StarCraft is.
See? Thank you.
Is that the Fox? Is that like Fox, like StarCraft, like Fox from Mario?
It's like do you know what like Age of Empires is or something like that? It's yeah, sure. It's similar. It is. I don't know when it came out. It was a while ago.
Not-
StarCraft 2, like 07, 09 or something like
Yeah.
that. It's been around for a long time. But like the pro scene is supposed to just watching what these players are doing with their fingers when they're when they're in match is insane. It's incomprehensible as just like a fan. Sometimes to watch it, it's like almost too much.
Well, the thing is that with StarCraft, I think it can also kind of be akin to what we see in modern day League of Legends players. Because have you ever watched the screen of what's his yeah. Have you
it's
ever
insane.
watched Faker's screen? It looks like it's glitching, but it's just not. So, like, I do not understand what's going on in StarCraft ever. I don't think I ever will. I don't think anyone will.
Because it's hard.
But like, if we're just looking at
What genre is StarCraft?
I don't know.
I just know it's hard.
RTS?
Yeah. Real time strategy. Yep. Good job. Was that Mira? Good
Yeah,
job, Mira.
of course it was Mira.
Yeah. Mira knows all. This game. I mean, StarCraft 2 is impossible. Let's be real. It is the hardest game to be the best in the world at. Because it doesn't change. It's like
Mhm.
League. Faker has
Yeah.
been the best in the world for how long? No one can beat him.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I
who's,
agree.
who's the best Rocket League player in the world right now, and how long has he been that? I have no idea. That's a you question.
Gyro, right
It's,
there, you're looking
it's
it up.
controversial, so I won't pick one. But there is one in mind, and
No, go ahead.
there's-
We love to
there's
get
two,
controversial
There's two.
here.
There's two.
love
There's
to get
Zen and there's Drawley that are considered the two best. Drawley, he won Worlds last season,
Mhm.
and
And
people
then-
still have him as the
And then
best.
there's Gyro.
And then there's yeah. And then you have Zen who won Worlds 2 seasons ago, but his skill is just like he's still the best. So like I guess it changes best player every like year or two probably. Yeah. Wait, so are we arguing StarCraft is it's the hardest game to go pro in or just the hardest game? Because hardest games look kind of different.
It is kind of different, and that's I was just taking a different approach because you guys talked about like the franchising and things like that, which obviously makes a huge difference. But I just think the hardest game to like kind of get to that barrier of skill to where you can go pro.
This is on screen. This is what a StarCraft player is doing.
Yes.
Look. I know you guys can't see this on screen right now.
He's
but-
using both WASD and all the arrow keys and about like 8 different hotkeys, and then eventually has to like sometimes move his mouse.
Like placing like his troops in like a blind.
So what I understand is that you have to farm resources kind of in your home base, and then you can use that to build infrastructure and create an army to beat your opponent. And these guys are cranking 80, 90 actions per minute, which if you can do some simple math is more than like, I don't know. It's an insane amount of just button mashing that apparently makes sense, but to people that don't know, it just kind of looks like gibberish.
Yep. So it definitely, look, I will absolutely agree with you. The difficulty of the game is never in question here. I think that it is very, it is the most difficult thing to do. I've seen these kind of clips all the time. and I'm just still enamored by what they're able to do. But I don't know. I just think about the big ones. Also, I've been watching Apex Global Series, bro.
Isn't Apex dying?
You ever watch Apex last night? It'll be the final circle, and they're like, "All right, we're down to 15 squads now," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? Is it in Fortnite? There's like 6 people left, and you're telling me there's 45 people in this little circle? It's ridiculous." Now, don't get me wrong, that is not the hardest game to go pro in because there's at any given time 20 teams of 3 people.
What about Marvel Rivals?
Marvel Rivals?
Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, no,
Pretty
Um,
tough. Pretty tough.
it's-
It's barely made it.
it's not. That game, if that game has longevity, then congratulations, but I doubt it.
Hope so.
Yeah, look, I hope so too, but I
Paying for my groceries.
just don't think that. I don't know how this got into a question. I don't know how we got talking about Marvel Rivals, but
We answered the question already.
we did. It's not, and that is
It's in Rocket League.
it's a fact. But I don't know. Marvel Rivals, it's too specific of a game for me to believe that it's gonna have a future. Because it is attached to a well-known franchise.
You don't think
Does that make
helps
sense?
it?
No,
You don't think
I
it
think
helps
that
it
hinders
like,
it.
It's like, oh, Iron Man.
I think that hinders it so much because you have to worry about Disney.
What do you think? Do you think a game like Marvel Rivals that has such a well-established IP and like all these characters people know, do you think that helps or hurts it?
I'm a fan of like games that like Riot makes because they have like characters that have like lore behind it and everything like that, and I think that's what makes like the best games. So I guess like maybe because it's established, like I think it gets more players because I even play it, and like I don't play that many like I don't play Overwatch or whatever that much, but I play Marvel Rivals and it's really fun, and it's pretty hard because like I don't know, lower ranks people just don't have fingers at all, and
Yep.
I think it helps it because it gives it a good starting ground. I don't know how the esports will do because I need to see how they market it and everything, but I think it'll be a good esport if they don't like mess it up like other games like what was that one fighting game where you had like cartoon characters?
Oh,
Multiverses?
we actually didn't talk about that. Yeah, the multiverse servers are shutting down.
Yeah, that game was actually fun, but they didn't like update it properly, and the characters were like broken, and like
Yeah.
I don't know, like the players there, like the characters there, like are so cool. Like you could play Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, and they ruined it. So I hope they don't do the same for multiverses. Honestly,
Yeah, so a counterpoint to that though is that Riot made all of those characters. Marvel Rivals did not. They're making it based off of what was once the Marvel company and now Disney. And I think that is the issue. They did not create these characters, and they do not have control of what happens to these characters. The game got permission to use the characters, but they didn't get permission to edit them in any way other than skins. To edit their backstories and edit what happens to them in the future. You're telling me right now that Disney handed over the entire Marvel IP to what's it called?
I'm sure they've allowed some creative freedom, especially if it's become. I mean, it's been a massive success. I would not put it past Disney to like be like, all right, you can make, maybe not make your own lore, but you can make your own stories with these characters. Because
With
I mean,
their permission.
I mean, everything requires permission.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that Disney, especially after taking over Marvel, has made so many mistakes that we've seen.
Well, the game already has a story. Like there's already lore
yeah.
for like how the game exists. Like I don't know, Doctor Doom did something. I don't know.
Shocker. Thanks, Robert Downey Jr.
Oh,
God.
funny.
But I don't know. I don't think that it is going to kill the game at all in any. But I think it's going to prevent it from going to a level past and like anything crazy.
But I think if they are able to kind of like make lore, make cinematics, because that was probably the best part of Overwatch for me.
Yeah.
Was like, I mean, rest in peace PVE. That was short lived, but like some of those old cinematics are awesome, and I think that if Marlboros can do that with characters that people already know and love, I think that can be really beneficial.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for Hot Seat. Somehow
this went off the
we
rails.
started talking about Marvel Rivals, but we'll be right back with our last segment, Crystal Ball, after a short break.
Standing up too high with nowhere to fall down to, empathy around you. Standing looking back, you heard it all before. Now losing what you didn't know you had. Fearing what you want is nearing, but you really try.
Is this unethical?
Welcome back, everybody, to the last segment of On the Country Roads. It's time to peer into our crystal ball and make some predictions for the week 1 matches of all 4 teams, as well as an overall season prediction. We are going to keep track of these predictions, and we are going to, just keep a little tally at the end of the season and see who did the best. So, for week 1,
Mm-hmm.
let's look at what we have.
So for starters, we have Valorant, week 1 against Cumberland.
Valorant week 1 against Cumberland.
Same matchup, obviously, as last year.
Yeah.
And could we be looking for a similar result? Obviously, this is the same roster.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had a whole offseason to improve.
Mhm.
Kind of fit in more with their new roles. So, I think first ever prediction of the this is spring
Spring?
2025
Mhm.
season. 2-0 Mountaineers.
I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. I think that's an easy 2-0 lock. I'll put the house on it.
The house.
Put the house on it. So, someone, Mira, you want to go ahead and keep track of these somewhere so we can have our.
They'll be in the VODs.
Yeah, they'll be in the VODs. So both of us predicting a 2-0 victory over Cumberland Valley. And that's for Valorant. Now let's move to another team playing Cumberland in week 1, COD.
This one, no idea.
This is a toss.
We really don't have any information about what this roster is going to look like, how they've been looking in scrims. I mean, when half your roster is brand new, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of you're venturing into the unknown, at least, especially for this first week of the season.
Yeah.
I'll let you go first.
God. Give me 3-1 Mountaineers. I think they drop. I think no. You know what? I think they drop Control. I think they fix their hardpoint struggles and they just get beat out on Control, and then they come back and win Search and Destroy.
I think we're in for a rude awakening.
Mhm.
I think in the first ever match in this new Super Conference division, and with all the turnover, I don't think it's going to be an immediate success. I think it's going to take some time. I think there's going to be some growing pains.
Okay.
With the new roster, I'm going to take Cumberland in a 3-1, debating 3-0.
Well, you got to pick one.
I'll go 3-1.
All
I'll
right.
be
What do we take?
I'll be
Hardpoint?
more nice. No, we take control and then lose second hard point.
All right. All right. Well,
And we might get 6-0'd on Search and Destroy. I'm just putting it out there. There's no bonus points if I get that right. It just might happen.
all right. So we are at odds when it comes to that. You think it's going to be a 3-1 loss? I think it's going to be a 3-1 victory. Let's move on to Rocket League.
Rocket League main roster.
Ole
week 1
Miss.
against Akron.
Sorry, Akron.
Against Akron. This is obviously, this has been a big matchup for years. There's a lot of tensions, kind of like a rivalry between these two teams.
No idea.
I think,
Like genuinely no idea.
well, we can look back at their matchup, from last season. Obviously, did not go the way that they wanted. 3-0 loss to Akron in the regular season, just last semester, and that was the only time that they faced them, at least in NACE play. So, going off that, and this is the exact same roster. Is there enough? Either the motivation with it being Angel last season, a different coaching approach.
Well,
Has there been enough to kind of shift that?
I'm going to tell you what. After my conversation with Gyro, the amount of information and the amount of support that he is providing this team, I think they come out with a victory here. But
The vibes have been great so far.
I think it is a Game 5 gigabanger. I think it's a 3-2 victory.
3-2 victory.
I'm going to put it out there. I'm locking it in. Lock it in. I have consulted my crystal ball,
I really just don't
and it
know.
told me we're going to win 3-2.
Well, where is this team at mentally after last season?
This team, amazing.
After going for that three-peat, after falling up short, especially after the start that they had last year, are we going to see that repeat?
Nope.
We see that sometimes with teams. It's
Nope.
just tough in this first couple of weeks.
Mm-mm.
It's going to be Akron 3-1.
What a sorry
It's going
excuse
to be Akron 3-1.
for a prediction.
We'll see. I mean, I wouldn't mind being wrong. Maybe I'm just hedging on my bets.
All right.
Maybe. But now, finally, on to Lotus. First season still in varsity NACE division against Montevallo, Rocket League A.
Isn't that in France? Oh, that's Monticello. Sorry.
University of Montevallo.
Lotus 3-0. Pretty sure it's a lock.
Well, I'm doing a little bit of quick research, and this team did not necessarily perform well last season. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Didn't win a ton of maps.
Yeah.
Got
Maps.
didn't even maps.
I
matches.
didn't know Rocket League
Yeah,
had maps.
games. Did not make the playoffs. I think
Ooh.
Lotus is going to keep riding high. 3-0 Lotus. We do agree on that one.
There we go. So we're in agreement. So the best we can do here against each other is up by 2.
Mm-hmm. We're in agreement on Valorant.
Valorant and Lotus.
Valorant and Lotus. We both think it's going to be sweeps, right? Or did I say 2-1? I don't know. It's in the VODs.
Yeah.
But I think 3-1 loss to Akron. You think 3-2 win to Akron.
Yep.
I think 3-1 loss to Cumberland for COD.
Mhm.
You think a 3-1 win.
Now let's because this is our preseason episode,
Mm-hmm.
let's do it. Let's do the big one. Let's predict every team's end of season NACE record.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, this is gonna be
Oh, jeez.
this is gonna be
Alright.
a doozy. So
You want to go back to we
Yeah.
we
Go back to Val.
Valorant. Back to Valorant.
back to Val.
Okay. So, we talked about these opening 5 games. It's going to be a
ridiculous.
doozy. Now, Cumberland
Mhm.
is an early matchup. I think we're obviously win. Fisher just now getting back into
Mhm.
Super Conference. I think that can also be a win.
Uh-huh.
St. Clair and Maryville, Winthrop,
Mhm.
St. Thomas, who we can never beat. And then
So
we have
let's go just go to the Super Conference page where we can see all of them because it's gonna be out of 7, right? So
there's 7 games, 6 of them right here, and then we play
and then what's the last one?
Oklahoma Christian.
Oklahoma Christian.
Who's we know about their COD team, their Valorant team, not obviously as good as their COD
Pretty
team.
sure we
but
lost
still.
to Oklahoma Christian.
Mm-hmm. Where are you feeling? 7 games.
I don't know. I think Cumberland's a win. Fisher's a win. I think Winthrop's a win. I think this is the year we beat St. Thomas. But it's just a matter of if we can pull out a win from that St. Clair, Oklahoma Christian, Maryville.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go conservatively 4-3.
5-2, baby.
You're.
We're rolling.
I knew you
we
were gonna
are
do it too.
rolling in Valorant.
I knew you were gonna
Same
do
roster.
it too.
Good last.
So then
season,
where's
a
the-
step up?
Who are their losses?
St. Clair and Mary.
And-
Oklahoma Christian.
And then we beat.
in the final week of the season. We know this team peaks late. They take their season. They take their
Mhm.
hits. As that season progresses, they get better. We saw that last year. We're gonna see it again this year.
That's a good point.
We're gonna beat Oklahoma Christian in week 7, riding high into the playoffs, and then we'll see what happens.
That is, I'll give you that. That's a very good point. This team does like to get hot late, so I wouldn't be surprised if that Oklahoma Christian game is a win. But I'm still gonna stick with that 4-3.
So 4-3.
Yep.
5-2 for Valorant.
Yep.
Looking on for our main
Rocket
roster Rocket League team. So quick schedule: Akron, Shawnee State, who's new in this division,
Mhm.
Maryville, St. Clair, Ole Miss. Another brutal opening schedule, and then we have BPC, and then we have Illinois State to close it out. Another 7-game season.
Redbirds. All right. Walk me through your thoughts here, because I have some interesting ones.
I think best case scenario. I think we might start off 1-3. I think Shawnee State, cool story, but I think we beat them. Akron, Maryville, St. Clair, and then even Ole Miss. That is brutal. I
You
could
think
definitely see 1. I
1-3?
could see 1-4 to start us out. I think it's on the table.
You think we end the season 3-4,
Were we 4-3 last year?
something like that?
Or no, we were
No.
5-4 or 4-5. Sorry, there were more games last year.
Yeah.
I mean, Illinois State's even a tough matchup.
No, we beat them consistently in CRL.
I'm gonna lock in.
That Lotus gave ISU a run for their money.
I'm gonna give us 1 win over either Akron, Maryville, St. Clair, or Ole Miss. We win one of those and we go 4-3.
Nah. I was about to walk in here with a 6-1 because, well, I don't know yet.
Do it.
Akron, I think we had their number for 2 years in a row, for 2 semesters in a row with the national championship. We beat them twice. No reason we can't do it again. Shawnee State, get out of here. Maryville, Rocket League just isn't that impressive to me.
Oh, they do keep.
Like,
I mean,
Come
they
on.
did knock us out of the playoffs last semester.
yeah, whatever. So, LCU should be a win. Harrisburg should also be a win.
That's where we agree.
Ole Miss is going to be tough. They've had our number recently. ISU, easy W. And then BPC. Give me 6-1.
6-1.
6-1.
All
We
right.
lose to Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, and that's it. So that'll be a week 5 loss to Ole Miss, another team that we play quite a bit.
Yep.
But all right, now back to Call of Duty.
Yep.
First season in Super
again,
Conference.
just like the first match,
We don't know.
completely
We don't
beats
know
me.
anything. Sorry. Schedule run through Cumberland, which we talked about.
Mhm.
University of North Texas at Dallas, which we've talked about.
Yep.
Oklahoma Christian, we've talked about. Was champions, obviously, last semester. Akron, who we did play last semester and was able to win. And then St. Clair, who was kind of just always a constant. And,
Yeah.
you know, whatever highest division esport you want to talk about. And then the Keanu Huskies. And then we have Constanoga Condors in week 7, another 7-week season.
My problem is I don't know about Piano or Conestoga. I think it's we could be looking at
2-5.
2-5
2 and
here.
5?
That's
2-5.
I'm gonna give me 3-4 just because I don't know enough about Conestoga or Keanu.
I am gonna go 2-5.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 2-5. I think this is gonna have to
Where the
kind of be
Where are the wins?
almost like a reset, almost like a rebuild season. The
Mhm.
wins I think are coming from
UNTD.
yes, North Texas at Dallas, and then I don't think we can. I don't think Oklahoma Christian. I don't think Akron. I don't think St. Clair.
No.
I think we can.
One of the
I'm giving us one of the
Canada schools.
Conestoga-
Yeah.
Yes, because I just
Yeah.
I don't know enough. It's Canada. Come on. So you're 3-4. I'm 2-5.
Yep.
Last, you have a minute. We can throw at the light thing. Perfect. Last one, our Lotus roster. Last prediction of our little predictions week here.
Yep.
In the studio for our first ever little kind of fun contenty stream.
Oh yeah.
Having a great time. Varsity Plus League, Lotus roster. Week 1 we've talked about. We've already made our predictions, and we are in agreement. But after that week 1, we play Mississippi, St. Clair, who's obviously had their number.
Academy.
Yes,
Yeah.
St. Clair Academy. North Texas, the Stout Blue Devils. Stout Blue Devils. Looks like Wichita State, and then in that week 7 matchup, it will be Akron, their club team. I already have.
I think I know too.
6-1.
Really?
6-1.
I was gonna go 5-2. I think, but not to who you expect. I think they overcome St. Clair Academy this semester. I think they drop it to Akron Club and Mississippi.
Interesting. So week 2 against Mississippi.
Yep.
You think they're going to find?
And then I think they
I'm
come off
going
the loss to be
just
St. Clair.
the one loss against that Academy team. I do not think that this quickly they're going to be able to get over that over that hump. Maybe after another full season, meet them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe meet them, in the championship
Maybe.
again. Who knows what's going to happen?
Maybe.
But I think 6-1 for our Lotus roster. You have 5-2. We differ on everything, which is great. So someone's going to win, someone's going to lose.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do. For our records.
Oh no, yeah, because I went 4-3 on COD. That's right.
Yep.
But I will say I think that the 2-5 is very realistic.
Well.
Now just a little bit. This won't be counted towards our totals. Do we
Mhm.
think a team gets to the in-person LAN grand finals? And if so, which one?
I would say the one I had the most confidence in is Valorant.
I'm tending to agree there, but I think that Rocket League has a chance. I think I think Valorant is the more likely one, but I think if Rocket League makes the right decisions this season, they can do it.
Our main roster Rocket League, the thing is I just don't know mentally where that team is at after going through this kind of funk last season.
I trust them. They've
And
been together
then
for 2 years.
it's
They're professionals.
Oh, I trust it. It's a really big kind of emotional burden that they're
it is,
to
it
sit
is.
through right now, and who knows how that's going to land. I mean, obviously, hoping for 28-0 across all of our teams.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
That would be pretty cool. We'd have a pretty fun semester, I think.
A pretty fun semester,
Pretty fun
and
semester for sure.
I would be shocked if we weren't on the news.
Yeah.
So, but, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for the first episode of On the Country Roads. We hope you enjoy. We enjoyed.
That was fun.
That was a great time going in depth on a lot of the preseason antics and what we think is going to happen. We got to interview and introduce Gyro to you Mountaineer fans for the first time live, and that is super duper exciting. Super cool guy. Very excited to have him on these rosters, and we are both thrilled to get back casting. I mean, look, I can't wait to get back that first Val match, that first Rocket League match. It's going to be a very exciting season.
I need a job. So.
But On the Country Roads is going to look a little different week to week. Obviously, we're not going to be talking about a lot of preseason stuff. We're going to be recapping a lot of more in depth about what happened during the week. We'll be going through specific plays for games, bringing up those clips, talking about the matches in detail rather than just that
Yep.
what we do in the pregame where we kind of say, oh, well, this happened and that's that.
Mhm.
No, we're going to give some wonderful, wonderful detail. We would like to thank you all for joining us today, and we hope that you enjoyed. Be sure to give us feedback if you can. On all of our socials, WVU Esports, just about anywhere you consume your media. Be sure to follow this stream. Be sure to share it with people. Let people know when we're live. Turn on those notifications.
It'll be every week,
Yeah.
4:30 on Friday, Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah.
Upload it to YouTube afterwards in case you miss anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, every week, tune in. Next week, new guest.
Yeah.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Gyro did a great job, but and especially after we get into the season, we can really start to kind of pick the mind of these players, and we'll probably end up watching some of their own plays from that week prior. So a lot of exciting stuff coming up. 4:30 on Friday.
4:30
every
on
week.
Fridays every week, and be sure to subscribe to get no ads on Twitch, and you can get some of that exclusive content that we're going to start running during those ad breaks. But we will be sure to catch you on whatever piece of media is next. I'm not really sure, but if you are a big fan of On the Country Roads, then we'll see you next Friday at 4:30. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you all.